A storm rages over the castle, lightning tearing through the sky as tattered flags whip violently in the wind. Something bad is about to happen. A goblet shatters, spilling red liquid like blood. With a heavy thud, Prince Alfonso collapses onto the cold marble, lifeless. A loud crash echoes. Ariadne stands amidst the chaos, blood streaking her cheek, her green eyes cold and unwavering. It was all for him. Her hands clasped tightly in desperation, staring at a bloody hand reaching out from the floor. She's committed a grave sin. Bodies and broken swords litter the ground. Standing amidst the carnage, Ariadne accepts her fate. She has become a traitor to her country, just as he asked. She wipes the blood from her skin and smooths her dress. Her heart races with one thought. The throne is his now, surely he will be pleased. Walking down the blood-soaked corridor, a smile creeps onto her face. Her heart pounds with a twisted hope. After this, he will love her more than ever. Cesare sits on the throne amidst the slaughter, clutching his sword. He looks down at her with cold eyes. "Well, what news do you bring?" She gulps, voice trembling. "Prince Alfonso is no more." A smirk curls Cesare's lips before he bursts into maniacal laughter. "Ha ha!" His laughter echoes. Wiping blood from his cheek, Cesare looks at her with a predator's affection. "My sweet Ariadne, you did well." He descends the steps, confidence radiating from him. "Now, at long last," he declares, towering over her. "This is our time." He plants a gentle kiss on her forehead, making a solemn vow. "I will make you the most exalted lady in this entire kingdom." They embrace amidst falling roses. Ariadne closes her eyes, blinded by love. "Finally, this is what I wanted. His joy is my own." Sunlight floods the hall as they kiss passionately over the corpses of their enemies. "As long as I can stay by Cesare's side, I will do anything." 9 years have passed. Cesare is now the regent. Ariadne walks the palace halls, head high, ignoring the whispers trailing behind her. She stares into the mirror. For 9 years she has ruled the palace like a queen, doing all the work, yet holding none of the titles. Flashback to 8 years ago. The noble ladies sip their tea and sneer. "She's nothing but an unrefined wench raised on a farm. Simply outrageous." The gossip cuts deep. "I wonder when Lord Cesare will find a wife. Perhaps his current fiancée?" Ariadne sits alone, enduring the humiliation. Her hand clenches, fingers fidgeting with her ring. She forces herself to believe. Let them talk. No matter what they say, Cesare loves me and only me. Ariadne sits alone in the salon, forcing herself to ignore the gossip. The noble women sneer, whispering that Cesare is nothing but a low-born bastard. A silver-haired noblewoman mocks unholy bastards with a smirk. Ariadne's eyes turn ice-cold. The insult hits too close to home. Rage explodes. Ariadne lunges forward, grabbing the woman by her hair and screaming at her to take back the slander. Chaos erupts as Ariadne violently defends Cesare's honor, ignoring all decorum. Suddenly, the heavy doors swing open behind her. Cesare arrives. Ariadne flushes, expecting praise for her loyalty, but Cesare looks at her with utter shock and horror. Instead of defending her, Cesare comforts the victim. He coldly scolds Ariadne for her lack of etiquette, ignoring her devotion. Cesare towers over her, his eyes cold. There is no love in his gaze, only disgust at her shameful behavior. He leans in to whisper a cruel truth. Her family is politically useful. You are just a liability. Ariadne's heart freezes instantly. Be useful if you want to be my wife. Cesare walks away, leaving Ariadne standing alone in the dark, feeling herself falling into an abyss. 8 years pass. Ariadne stares into the mirror, exhausted. She molded herself into a perfect tool, yet remains nothing more than a fiancée. Back in the suffocating bedroom, Cesare preaches about his own generosity while Ariadne serves him submissively. He leans in to claim her. Ariadne flinches but forces herself to endure his touch, clinging to the hope of becoming his queen. Mid-embrace, Cesare drops the bomb, I am to wed your sister, Isabella. Ariadne's eyes widen in sheer horror and disbelief. She shoves him away violently. What? Cesare remains calm, reasoning that Isabella is a suitable widow for the throne. Cesare argues that Isabella is technically chaste. Ariadne snaps, screaming, chaste? That is a blatant lie. Desperate, Ariadne reveals the truth. She was pregnant with Alfonso's child. Cesare dismisses it instantly, calling her a jealous woman. Cesare loses patience and roughly shoves her to the floor. Enough. I will not tolerate your petty jealousy. Collapsed on the floor, Ariadne grabs his robe, sobbing. You promised. You said you loved me and would make me queen. The memories of their vows and eternal love shatter into pieces under his cold, indifferent gaze. Cesare looks down at her like trash. You are dull and selfish. Only a noble woman like Isabella is fit to stand by my side. Ariadne confronts him, her voice trembling with betrayal. She demands the truth. Was he conspiring with her sister even before the prince's death? Cesare spreads his arms in arrogant triumph. He claims Isabella is the perfect mate for a strong male like him, justifying his betrayal as nature's law. The words cut deep. She recalls the humiliation of being given to him as the lesser daughter by her father, realizing he never valued her either. Cesare's face twists in rage, acting the victim. He curses her father's demands, ignoring the woman kneeling broken at his feet. Collapsed on the floor, tears streaming down her face, Ariadne looks up and asks the shattering question, was I just a consolation prize? He sneers, looking down at her with utter contempt. His words destroy her completely. You were no prize at all. Despair turns to rage. She claws at the floor and holds up her mutilated hand, screaming about the ring finger she sacrificed for his ambition. She screams in agony, tears flowing uncontrollably. I gave up everything for you. But her desperate confession falls on deaf ears. Cesare clicks his tongue in annoyance. Dismissing her pain as hysteria, he coldly orders the guards to drag her away like trash. Guard seize her by the hair. As Cesare orders her confinement in the western tower, she screams in fury, fighting a losing battle. The western tower looms in the night. Her desperate screams for Cesare echo into the void, answered only by silence and darkness. A flashback to brighter days. Walking arm in arm through a sunlit forest, she naively believed this was love. He compares her to the yielding lilies of the valley. A chilling statement of control disguised as romance, but she was too blind to see it. She wakes from the dream, murmuring his name. White birds fly past as the warm memory shatters against the cold reality of her prison. Waking up in the tower, she hears a familiar melody drifting in from outside. It wasn't just a dream, the music is real. She puts on her glasses. It's coronation day. Ironically, they are playing the very music she chose for the ceremony she planned. He basks in the glory she built for him. While he takes the crown in the sunlight, she is left to rot in the shadows, heartbroken. Isabella appears, resplendent in a wedding dress. She mocks Ariadne, calling herself a greenhouse rose compared to Ariadne's wild weed. Shocked, Ariadne looks up from the shadows at her sister bathing in the light. She demands to know why Isabella is here, fearing the worst. The atmosphere is suffocating. Ariadne kneels, demanding to know where her fiancé is, while her sister Isabella looks down with a chilling smile. Guilt crashes over Ariadne as she weeps for Alfonso. Hearing that name, Isabella's smug mask cracks into pure shock. Isabella recovers her arrogance instantly. She spreads her arms, claiming Cesare belongs with the most noble lady in the land. A vicious kick. Isabella stomps on her sister, branding her a disgraced widow and mocking the trauma of her lost child. Ariadne snaps. She glares up from the floor, firing back, if you're so perfect, what about your own husband, Alfonso? Isabella dismisses him with a cold smirk. She claims Alfonso loved her, but since every man desires her, she can't possibly love them all back. Trembling with rage, Ariadne asks if she even loves Cesare. Isabella dodges the question, blaming Ariadne for pushing Cesare toward her in the first place. Why steal him now? Ariadne screams in desperation. Isabella just offers a chilling, pitying smile. What a silly question. Heels clicking on the stone floor, Isabella explains casually. Cesare was once a nobody, but after today's coronation, he becomes the rightful king. A demonic smile spreads across her face. She admits she's glad Alfonso is dead because he failed to make her a queen. Her ambition is laid bare. She wants to be the supreme woman of the kingdom, and Cesare is her ticket to the crown. Isabella struts toward her glorious future, leaving Ariadne broken on the cold floor, whispering the traitor's name in despair. Heart shattered, Ariadne realizes she lost everything. She clutches her chest, screaming a denial that tears through the silence. Realizing the truth, Ariadne explodes. You don't love Cesare at all. You only care about status and power. Instead of denying it, Isabella bursts into manic laughter, as if Ariadne just told the world's funniest joke. Composing herself, she admits it. You're right. I just want the title. But here's the kicker: Cesare begged me to take it. She twists the knife, repeating Cesare's words. He said holding Ariadne felt like holding a man, while he never stopped loving Isabella. In Cesare's eyes, Ariadne was dark and gross like a crow or a cow, while Isabella was his delicate, golden-haired angel. Isabella leans in, her voice dripping with poison. Has anyone ever wanted you this desperately? A direct hit to Ariadne's soul. The brutal truth lands. Cesare chose Isabella for her power long ago. Ariadne realizes she was never the main character, just a consolation prize. The contrast is brutal. Ariadne kneels in the dark, utterly hopeless, while Isabella stands in the light, smiling in her wedding dress. They stare each other down. Ariadne warns that men aren't worth it, but her scheming sister just turns away, calculating how to sell her life for the highest price. The dream shatters. Ariadne collapses, muttering that Cesare wouldn't betray her, trapped in denial. Her sister sheds a tear, but stands silently by. It was all a setup. Standing in the light, Isabella sneers, predicting Cesare's love will fade into boredom. The cruelty is chilling. She wants it all, and no witnesses. Isabella looks down, feigning nostalgia for their past, while her eyes scream murder. The final verdict. Bathed in light like a saint, Isabella prays for a painless end, casually ordering her own sister's execution. The bloody sword falls. Cesare calls her his beloved sibling as he strikes her down without hesitation. Ariadne collapses, eyes wide with shock. Looking at her own corpse, regret consumes her. She sacrificed everything for nothing. If only she could turn back time. Blind justice drips with blood. She believed in the golden rule, that good deeds are rewarded, but now she sees it as a cruel joke. In the abyss, a voice asks if she can master this cruel rule. Staring at the sword, she grits her teeth and answers, I am. As the blood drop hits, Ariadne jolts awake. Gasping for air, terror still in her eyes, she has no idea where she is. She recognizes her childhood home. Looking down, she panics seeing her tiny hands, and the face in the mirror is impossibly young. She touches her face in disbelief, and it hits her time as rewound. She's actually back in the past. Reality hits hard. The head maid storms in, screaming that she's just a low-born servant. Even in a new life, the abuse remains. But this time is different. Ariadne's eyes burn with rage. She won't let anyone trample on her again. Still processing, she trembles as she touches a mole under her eye that wasn't there before. It's real. She's back. The screaming makes her flinch. The old habit of submission is hard to break, and the air is thick with tension. Just as Ariadne grits her teeth, the maid panics. Someone from the castle has arrived to take Ariadne away. Ariadne clenches her fist as realization strikes. This is the day. The day her hypocritical father, the cardinal, comes for her. The infamous Cardinal de Mere. Behind his holy robes, he keeps a mistress, Lucrezia. The dark family drama begins now. While the cardinal's favorite children lived like royalty, Isabella stood out the jewel of the capital and her father's greatest pride. But Ariadne? Born to a lowly maid, she was the family's dirty secret, banished to a farm to rot in obscurity. Now she's back. Standing before the lavish manor, Ariadne steels herself. This isn't a homecoming, it's a battlefield. She steps into the lion's den. The cardinal sits like a king, with Lucrezia standing guard, the air heavy with judgment. Silence stretches, broken only by the click of her heels. Father and daughter lock eyes in a cold, silent standoff. Ariadne puts on her mask. She bows flawlessly, offering sweet words of greeting while hiding the venom in her heart. The cardinal gives a backhanded compliment about her lack of education. Ariadne swallows her pride and plays the humble daughter. Lucrezia jumps in, lecturing that a woman's only virtue is servitude, not intelligence. A clear attempt to put Ariadne in her place. Ariadne listens, but internally scoffs. She realizes Lucrezia is shallow and crass, a weakness she can exploit. Ariadne hides a smirk. She bows her head submissively, addressing her as Lady Lucrezia, perfectly baiting the trap. The formal title rattles Lucrezia. She looks panic-stricken as Ariadne subtly shifts the power dynamic in the room. Cornered, Lucrezia forces a smile and demands to be called mother. Ariadne obliges sweetly. Round 1 goes to Ariadne. Then, a familiar voice cuts through the air. Isabella arrives. The real nightmare begins. Seeing Isabella's angelic face triggers a wave of panic. Ariadne freezes, haunted by the ghost of her past betrayal. Swallowing her nausea, Ariadne bows deeply to the sister she hates, hiding her shaking hands behind a veil of respect. Flashbacks hit hard. She remembers how she once worshipped Isabella, desperate for crumbs of affection from her shining sister. Until the wedding day. The day that radiant smile turned into a sneer as Isabella stabbed her in the back. Literally. The phantom pain fuels her rage. Ariadne snaps back to reality, eyes burning with a vow, never again. Isabella offers a fake sisterly welcome. Ariadne smiles back, masking her hatred. Two can play at this game. The cardinal grins, pleased with his united family. He has no idea he just welcomed a wolf in sheep's clothing. The atmosphere in the mansion is suffocating. The cardinal stands with his back turned, while the 3 women behind him simmer with tension. A storm is brewing. The wicked stepmother points a finger, warning Ariadne to behave under their roof. Ariadne stays silent, but internally, she's already plotting. The brat Arabella snaps, pointing and screaming at Ariadne. How can this farm wench be my sister? I won't allow it. Insulted, Ariadne's eyes go cold. She hits back hard. You think I don't know your mother was just a maid too? Seeing her sister stunned, Ariadne instantly switches to a mask of fake sympathy. Oh, you poor thing. The manipulation begins. Arabella explodes, screaming her resentment. Mom and Dad only care about Isabella. It's pure jealousy and fear of being ignored. The argument turns physical. Ariadne stands her ground as a shove sends someone flying. A dull thud echoes through the hall. Disaster? It's Isabella who takes the fall, sprawling on the carpet in pain. Ariadne stands above her, watching coldly. The door slams open. The cardinal bursts in, drawn by the noise. Ariadne's eyes flicker. The audience has finally arrived. Seeing Isabella on the floor, the father erupts in fury. All fingers immediately point to Ariadne as the accusations fly. Father screams at Ariadne, "You just got back and already caused chaos." Isabella covers her face, but a smirk hides behind her hands. Ariadne bows her head, voice trembling with fake guilt. "I apologize, Father. Isabella got hurt trying to protect me." She twists the knife with innocent eyes. "Arabella pushed me, and Isabella fell taking the blow for me." Arabella panics, shouting in defense, "That's a lie. I didn't do anything like that." Desperate for an alibi, Arabella turns to her sister. "Father, ask Isabella. She was right there." All eyes turn to Isabella. Ariadne's gaze is sharp as a blade. Go ahead. Let's see whose side you take. Kneeling on the floor, facing Arabella's hopeful look, Isabella must choose between the truth and her image as the perfect sister. Isabella smiles like a saint. Father, please forgive Arabella. She was just playing rough. She didn't mean it. Ariadne smirks internally, predicted. To keep your saintly image, you just confirmed Arabella's guilt. Hearing her sister admit to the assault, Arabella freezes in shock. She's just been betrayed by the one she trusted most. The cardinal explodes with rage, sentencing young Arabella to confinement with nothing but bread and water. She collapses in terror, screaming her innocence, but her pleas fall on deaf ears. When Arabella tries to protest, her father coldly extends the punishment to 3 weeks. Maids drag the sobbing girl away as the cardinal turns, barking for his wife, Lucrezia. He turns his fury on the stepmother, Lucrezia, demanding to know how she raised these children. She faces his wrath with a calm, calculating stare, unfazed by the outburst. Ariadne immediately switches into performance mode, sobbing dramatically and calling out for her father, perfectly playing the role of the traumatized, innocent daughter. In the shadows, Lucrezia allows herself a subtle, chilling smirk. Watching the chaos unfold, she realizes manipulating this situation might be easier than she thought. Conflict erupts in the new chapter. Ariadne stands her ground against her father, furiously refusing to marry Cesare, citing rumors of his illegitimate birth as an insult to her station. The cardinal sits back, tapping his glasses calmly. He admits that despite the official titles, the rumors are true. Cesare is indeed the king's bastard son. He plays the dignity card, declaring he won't let his legitimate daughter marry a bastard. Beside him, the wicked sister Isabella smirks, seeing a perfect opportunity to strike. Isabella drops the trap, sneering that illegitimate children should stick together. She suggests Ariadne take the fall for this betrothal, implying she's the only one low enough for it. The cardinal pauses, remembering Ariadne's mother was just a maid. A cruel realization hits him. Ariadne is the perfect disposable pawn for this insulting marriage. The family of Viper shares a satisfied smirk, the deal sealed. The scene shifts to Ariadne alone at her desk, haunted by the memories of her tragic past life. Standing alone in the void, her gaze sharpens. She faces her ultimate dilemma. She must find a way to escape this betrothal to Cesare and avoid repeating her fatal mistake. She frantically scratches out options in her notebook. Marrying someone else? Impossible. Getting rich and fleeing? The family would never allow it. Every escape route seems dead. She violently scribbles out the sketch of a happy wedding. The fairy tale is dead to her. She knows there is no happy ending waiting in this cruel reality. Her hand trembles with rage as she crushes the thought. She reminds herself that Cesare will never love her. The memory of his cold, true nature surfaces, promising only destruction. A haunting vision of Cesare's creepy smile looms over her, mocking her past naivety. Ariadne snaps back to reality, her fear instantly hardening into cold, murderous intent. I want him to pay. Just as her desire for revenge peaks, the door clicks open. A maid enters with clothes, interrupting the heavy atmosphere. Ariadne instantly recognizes Miletta, Isabella's personal maid and her past tormentor. The servant crosses her arms, arrogantly ordering Ariadne to dress for dinner like a child. Ariadne coldly calls out her lack of service. The insolent maid just smirks, mocking her. You're not a child anymore, surely you can dress yourself? The maid pushes her luck, insulting Ariadne's farm upbringing. Before she can finish, Ariadne snaps, violently grabbing her wrist and unleashing her suppressed dominance. A deafening slap sends the redhead reeling. Ariadne glares down with icy authority, warning the maid to remember her place. Clutching her cheek, the maid screams that Ariadne is just a peasant's daughter. Ariadne smirks coldly then, that makes you no better than me. The maid crosses the line, mocking their father's lineage before smirking with a delusional threat perhaps the cardinal might fancy her one day. Ariadne doesn't hesitate, she delivers a second, brutal backhand. The maid goes flying into the wall, her delusional rant instantly silenced. The maid cowers on the floor. Ariadne stares down imperiously, warning her to curb her ugly jealousy and get out of her sight. As the maid scurries away in terror, Ariadne clenches her jaw. She won the fight, but the truth stings. Her power still relies entirely on her father. She crushes the portrait in her hand, eyes burning with resolve. In this life, she will never be controlled by a man again. She needs power, and she needs an ally. Before she can catch her breath, the door bursts open. The stepmother and sister storm in, furious that Ariadne dared to lay a hand on their servant. The maid puts on a show, sobbing fake tears and lying through her teeth. Ariadne stands alone and silent, facing their accusations with a cold stare. Just as the stepmother explodes, Ariadne bows respectfully. She drops a bombshell with a calm face. "I only struck her to defend your honor, mother." She calmly exposes the truth. The maid was gossiping that the family is full of illegitimate children unworthy of their noble titles. The maid frantically tries to deny it, but Ariadne doesn't let up. She twists the knife deeper. She even claimed father himself comes from common blood. Ariadne calculates perfectly. The stepmother might hate her, but an insult to the cardinal's bloodline? That is a threat to the family status she cannot ignore. Then, the finishing blow, she even fantasized about bedding father and bearing his child to take my place. The maid's face drains of color instantly. The stepmother snaps instantly. She seizes the maid by the collar, eyes burning with rage. "You dare covet my husband? On your knees!" Regaining her composure, the stepmother smooths her dress and offers a fake apology to Ariadne, masking her rage behind a veneer of elegance. Ariadne plays her next card, volunteering to exile herself to the shelter for 3 days to atone. The stepmother is stunned, suspicious of this sudden piety. Then, the trap snaps shut. Ariadne sweetly requests to take the maid with her for spiritual guidance. The stepmother, trying to regain control, extends the sentence to 5 days. Hearing the extended sentence, Ariadne feigns a pained wince, bowing her head in submission. This display of weakness finally gives the stepmother the satisfaction she craves. And so, the journey of penitence begins. As Ariadne steps into the carriage, a cold resolve settles and the real punishment is about to start, but not for her. Lucrezia steps out for her charity act, while Moletta follows, trembling with a heavy box. The shelter is a slaughterhouse. Blood stains the floor as workers drag away the dying. Moletta gags in horror, but Lucrezia smiles. This hell is exactly what she needed. Founded by the queen to save the poor, this place has rotted into a graveyard. Stepping into the filth, Lucrezia smirks at the trembling maid and calls her name. She looms over her. "Just you and me for 5 days. Isabella isn't here to save you." Moletta turns her back in terror, while Lucrezia chuckles, enjoying the scent of fear. Deep in the dungeon, Lucrezia scans the dying peasants, hunting for something specific. Amidst the bodies, Moletta freezes, eyes wide with shock. "Sister?" Lucrezia points a gloved finger. "Look. That redhead over there looks just like you." It's her little sister. Lucrezia whispers a lethal threat. "Obey, or the girl dies in agony. Or rot here together." Moletta breaks, falling to her knees and begging for mercy. Lucrezia grips her jaw, digging fingers into flesh. "Answer me. Now!" A memory strikes like lightning, a stormy night, and a noble offering only one chance at life. Years ago, the sisters knelt in the dirt, begging to stay together, promising to work double. But for that one spot, Moletta shoved her sister Sancha aside, desperate to escape poverty. Her ambition won. In that moment, she sold her soul and her sister for a better life. She left with a lie about coming back, a promise her sister foolishly believed for years. A sudden jolt of electricity. Sancha screams a name. "Moletta!" While Ariadne freezes, blindsided by a terrifying vision. The shockwave nearly knocks her over. Sancha asks if she's seen a ghost, but Ariadne knows this visceral horror wasn't just a hallucination. Ignoring the dizziness, Ariadne steadies herself. She needs answers now. She has to uncover the truth behind that flash of memory. She crouches down, locking eyes with the girl. No time for pleasantries. She demands to know if Sancha has a sister working for a noble family. Sancha nods, but freezes when Ariadne recites their secret survival pact word for word. The maid's eyes widen in sheer terror. How could she know? The vision was real. Having confirmed the truth, Ariadne offers a cold piece of advice. Look after yourself, and turns to leave. Sancha breaks down, crawling across the floor. She grabs at Ariadne, begging desperately for just one chance to speak to her sister again. Ariadne catches the inconsistency immediately. The sister left to support them, yet never said a single word back? Something is terribly wrong. Under Ariadne's sharp interrogation, Sancha stammers and crumbles. The illusion of her sister's sacrifice is falling apart right in front of her. Looking down at the filthy, barefoot girl sobbing on the floor, Ariadne stands tall, the air thick with despair and unspoken truths. Cutting through the noise, Ariadne drops the name like a bomb. Moletta, watching closely for Sancha's reaction. Even backed into a corner, Sancha tries to deflect, but her flimsy lies wither under Ariadne's icy, penetrating stare. Terror consumes the girl. Sancha screams hysterically for help, but Ariadne just watches, her expression unreadable and distant. Watching the girl's agony, Ariadne feels a pang of conflict. Through Sancha, she sees the ghost of Moletta, the arrogant maid who met a tragic end. She can't just walk away. Ariadne snaps into command, summoning the manager. 2 days later, the consequences of her choice unfold. Leaning against a tree, dizzy with hunger, Ariadne pays the price. She's been giving her own meals to Sancha just to keep the girl alive. The guards refused special treatment for a maid, so Ariadne made a sharp decision. She'd sacrifice her own rations to feed the girl instead. It was supposed to be for 1 day, but it's been 3. Worse yet, she still hasn't deciphered the mystery of that sudden, violent vision. It was definitely a fragment of Moletta's memory. Yet, no matter how many times she tried touching Sancha afterwards, the vision never returned. It seems physical contact alone isn't the trigger. As she ponders the origin of this strange power, her hand instinctively reaches for a red apple. Strange glowing text flashes before her eyes. Her heart lurches violently, forcing her to clutch her chest in sudden panic. Trauma hits hard. The bloody memory of his death overlays the living, breathing boy in front of her. The contrast is paralyzing. Alarm bells ring. This is the man she betrayed. The man whose blood is on her hands from the past life. Guilt suffocates her. His smile is gentle, but it terrifies her. His simple question feels less like kindness and more like judgment. But clarity cuts through the panic. She looks at the apple. This is the past. She hasn't committed those sins yet. The slate is clean. It's a second chance. She takes the apple and bites down hard. It's not just food, it's the taste of a new destiny. Fate has dealt her an ace. Ariadne instantly shifts gears. This isn't a random meeting anymore, it's a strategic opening. She tidies her hair, switching into perfect lady mode. The prince is already charmed, watching her with genuine admiration. Under his gaze, she cracks a gentle joke. The tension melts away, replaced by a soft, romantic atmosphere. They bond over how terrible the shelter food is. The shared complaint bridges the gap between royalty and outcast. Seeing him blush, she smirks internally. She decides to play dumb and keep his identity a secret for now. He asks about her plans, his voice laced with curiosity. He's clearly hoping she won't disappear too soon. She plays along, gesturing with the apple. A little flattery goes a long way. Thanks to his generosity, she'll stay another day. It works perfectly. The innocent prince feels guilty for offering so little and frantically rummages through his bag. He presents a plate of fancy royal cookies. She accepts with a warm smile, knowing she has successfully hooked him. She stands to leave, playing hard to get. Her sudden departure leaves him desperate for more. Right on cue. As she turns away, he stammers out the question. He can't let her go without a name. She turns back, framed by flowers, and drops her name with a perfect smile. An image he won't forget. While the prince savors her name, reality bites back. She returns to the manor, where the vipers are already waiting. The stepmother explodes, pointing a trembling finger at the red-haired girl, screaming at Ariadne for bringing filth into their noble home. Ariadne feigns desperation and hands over a letter. The stepmother is ready to tear it apart until she freezes, eyes widening in shock. The royal initials AFC leave the stepmother dumbfounded. She demands answers, while Ariadne's sharp gaze reveals this was all part of the plan. Ariadne spins a tale, lying that she met the prince by chance and he personally entrusted the girl to her care. She claims the prince gave her a handkerchief as proof, but the stepmother isn't buying it, roaring that Ariadne is insulting her intelligence. The stepmother orders them out and shoves Ariadne hard. Ariadne grits her teeth, standing her ground to protect Sancha. Isabella suddenly throws a tantrum, threatening to run off to the shelter. The stepmother slaps her across the face to snap her out of it. Desperate to meet the prince later, Isabella changes her tune instantly, demanding her mother let the vagrant girl stay. The sister thinks this makes her look benevolent, unaware that Ariadne is smirking in the shadows, glad her stupidity is finally useful. The plan works. Sancha stays. But Isabella immediately snatches the token, smiling sweetly as she claims she'll keep it safe. Isabella basks in the fake gratitude. Ariadne turns away, fists clenching tight as she suppresses her disgust. Ariadne realizes nothing has changed, she's still powerless. But behind her, Sancha whispers a solemn oath of eternal loyalty. Sancha vows to repay the kindness. Seeing such raw sincerity, Ariadne's cold, calculating gaze softens for a moment. She gently pats Sancha's head. In this cold, hostile house, a genuine bond is finally formed between the outcasts. Days later, a palace invitation arrives. The stepmother and sister are giddy, convinced the queen wants to see Isabella's beauty. Ariadne freezes on the stairs. In her past life, they were never invited. Fate has started to shift. A servant rushes in with news the palace sent a carriage specifically for Ariadne. She's been invited by name. That means she'll be going with the stepmother and sister. Anticipating the drama ahead, a sly smile creeps onto her face. Back in the attic, Ariadne is in high spirits. She playfully asks Sancha to try on an outfit, sharing a rare moment of joy. The stained glass depicts a saint, betrayed, martyred, then resurrected. A chilling reflection of Ariadne's own destiny. The stained glass tells the ancient tale. Saint Gon sacrificed himself a second time to prevent a catastrophe from befalling the realm. But today's sermon is in Gallica. The two blonde ladies sit there blankly, completely unable to understand a single word. The crowd judges silently. Lucrezia lacks refinement, and Isabella is barely educated. They are making a fool of themselves. Only the blonde nobleman and Ariadne catch the nuance. They immediately recognize the tribute to the Queen of Gallica. When the priest speaks of the rich sacrificing for the poor, Ariadne's eyes shift sharply. Preaching sacrifice in this selfish world is pure irony. Isabella isn't listening. She's lost in a fantasy, imagining herself as a bride, worshipped and admired by the masses. Ceremony over, Isabella puts on an act, gushing to her mother about the sermon. Ariadne watches, seeing right through the charade. The fool only caught the word sacrifice. She loudly wonders how thrilling it would be to be mourned by everyone, stunning the crowd into silence. The noble women roll their eyes at her immaturity. Ariadne realizes she has to stop this before Isabella humiliates the entire family. Watching Isabella bask in her delusional piety, Ariadne's mind races. She needs a plan to salvage this embarrassing situation immediately. She takes charge, clapping her hands and suggesting refreshments, forcefully steering the conversation away from the disaster. Her maneuver catches the eye of the nobleman. He realizes the cardinal's middle daughter is much sharper than she looks. At the tea party, the cardinal's family takes the head table. It looks elegant, but everyone is watching, waiting for a slip-up. Lucrezia introduces her daughters, using the upcoming mass as an excuse to climb the social ladder with rehearsed pleasantries. The old countess is ruthless. She compliments Isabella's dress, then immediately throws a jab at Ariadne for being a bastard child. The word bastard triggers Isabella instantly. Since her beloved Cesare is also illegitimate, she explodes with rage to defend his honor. But she must endure. The countess asks about the dressmaker, and Isabella, suppressing her fury, elegantly credits the family seamstress. The countess springs her trap. If it's homemade, why didn't the seamstress make one for your sister? The family's bias is now exposed. Such a difference in dress shows pure pettiness. The countess scoffs. Humiliated, Lucrezia tries to use Ariadne's status as a shield. Just as things fall apart, Isabella steps in with a smooth lie. She claims her sister was ill, and is wearing old clothes temporarily, desperate to save face. Isabella feigns generosity about sharing clothes, but Ariadne squeezes her hand tight, a smiling threat demanding she play along. Seeing right through the trap, Ariadne plays the part, feigning humility and claiming she's unworthy of such a dress. The old dress is revealed to gasps of shock. Ariadne feigns innocence, loudly claiming she loves the gown despite its history. She wears the hand-me-down with defiance. If she's going to make a statement, she ensures the whole room pays attention. While nobles whisper about the stains and Isabella smirks, Ariadne enters with head high, turning the shame onto her father's treatment of her. The tables turn as a guest questions Isabella. As she stammers, a commanding lady silences the room to interrogate the eldest daughter directly. The matriarch presses on, asking if the stained chemise was also hers. Cornered and humiliated, Isabella can only stammer in shame. Her excuses fail, and she is ordered to leave immediately. Humiliated, Isabella trembles with rage, her eyes burning with hatred. Ariadne smirks, savoring her stepmother's humiliation. But the victory is cut short as the lady orders her to be escorted away to change. Ariadne freezes, sweat forming on her brow. Shocked that the command was directed at her, she realizes she has no choice but to obey. Following the maid, dread sets in. Ariadne recognizes the path to the queen's palace, a place she knew all too well in her past life. 9 years of past memories in this palace flood back. She clutches her dress, desperate to purge the painful thought of him from her mind. Lost in thought, she crashes into a man. Rubbing her head, she looks up and freezes, instantly recognizing the royal standing before her. Alfonso? Ariadne? Their eyes lock amidst falling cherry blossoms, time seeming to stop as they recognize each other. Staring at him in disbelief, Ariadne can barely process it. The prince from her past life is standing right in front of her. "You're a prince?" she blurts out. The moment is shattered when the stern matron scolds her for her lack of manners, leaving Alfonso awkward. While Alfonso stands in royal glory, the matron demands respect. Ariadne fumes internally, refusing to bow down to a mere servant. Realizing Carla is the queen's spy, Ariadne swallows her pride and bows an apology. Alfonso quickly whispers that he kept his identity a secret on purpose. The prince steps in to defend her, calling her a friend. Ignoring the matron's shock, he insists that Ariadne is the only one who sees him for who he truly is. The blonde prince pouts, sick of his title, leaving Ariadne stunned by his sudden rebellious streak. Before she can react, Alfonso grabs her wrist and drags her away, ignoring the screaming maids behind them. They stop under the garden arch. The prince is cool as a cucumber, while Ariadne is bent over, gasping for air. Alfonso teases her breathless state with a smirk, his fingers lightly grazing the back of her hand. Ariadne playfully calls him Your Highness, making Alfonso groan and beg her to drop the formal title. Since they're ditching formalities, Ariadne suggests a secret nickname just for the two of them. The suggestion shifts the mood instantly, their eyes locking in anticipation under the bright sun. Alfonso calls it bold, but Ariadne argues logically. Using real names would just blow their cover. The thrill of a secret connection is too tempting to resist. Blushing, Alfonso agrees to play along. They brainstorm names. Al is boring. Fonso sounds fake. Alfonso is being fussier than a child. Finally, Ariadne gazes at him tenderly and whispers the simple code name, Dear A. The nickname stops time. They sit by the flowers, soaking in the sweetness and silence of the moment. But the romance is fleeting. Alfonso suddenly clenches his fist, his expression darkening as reality hits. Head bowed in guilt, he confesses. His mother summoned her today because he told her about their previous meeting. He knows his mother watches his every move. Surprising Ariadne, this innocent prince isn't as oblivious as he looks. Ariadne's eyes sharpen with interest. Alfonso understands his mother's love, but admits the suffocation is real. He squeezes her hand tight and apologizes, feeling guilty for ruining the mood with his troubles. Ariadne doesn't speak. Instead, she reaches out and gently places her hand on the top of his head. Like comforting a sad puppy, she strokes his hair and whispers, "That must be frustrating." Alfonso melts into her touch, closing his eyes, though he mutters about needing to return before the matron gets angry. Ariadne gently pats his shoulder before leaving. Alfonso sits there long after, touching his lips, completely lost in the lingering sweetness of the moment. While the prince is lost in romance, the mood at the manor is violently different. Stepmother Lucrezia is screaming, her voice echoing through the hall. Lucrezia is absolutely losing it. She feels humiliated by that foreigner, spewing classist insults and cursing her bloodline. With a loud crash, a vase shatters. Ariadne stands amidst the wreckage, watching her stepmother's tantrum with a stone-cold expression. The stepmother turns her rage on Ariadne, accusing her of plotting. Ariadne simply curtsies, playing the part of the innocent daughter. Ariadne calmly denies hiding the chemise. Lucrezia buys none of it, screaming orders to turn Ariadne's room upside down. Ariadne sits back, smirking internally. She knows they'll find nothing. But her confidence is cut short by a sudden shout from a maid. It's Sancha. She drops to her knees, yelling, "I know who the real culprit is." The sudden outburst freezes the room. Ariadne suddenly remembers her setup. She had tricked the vain-maid Moletta into trying on the outfit. Did something go wrong with that part? Cold sweat drops. Ariadne realizes a fatal error. She forgot to threaten Moletta into silence. This could backfire horribly. Back in the hall, the tension snaps. Sancha is still yelling, while Ariadne forces herself to stay calm, frantically calculating her next move. The memory hits her again. She was so focused on the trap that she missed the final step. That oversight now hangs over her like a blade. Chaos erupts as servants point fingers. In the heat of the moment, the accusation seems to shift away from Ariadne towards someone else. Lucrezia grabs Sancha by the hair. Sancha is taking the fall to protect her mistress. She cries out, but Lucrezia treats her like a common thief. Lucrezia finds the chemise on Sancha. Ariadne is safe, but at the cost of Sancha's sacrifice. Her relief is mixed with a dark, complicated look. A brutal slap hits Sancha, followed by merciless stomping. Sancha endures it all to repay her debt, a heartbreaking display of loyalty. Watching loyal Sancha get beaten black and blue, Ariadne's heart wrenches. Tears well up, and guilt threatens to drown her. Suddenly, a splitting headache strikes Ariadne, like a curse activating. Through blurred vision, the phantom of the blindfolded judge appears again. It's the punishment of the golden rule. Because she profited from another's suffering, she violated the contract. Her heart is being weighed on the scales of judgment. Voices accuse her of betrayal in her head, while Lucrezia raises a weapon in reality. Trapped between mental torture and physical crisis, Ariadne is in agony. Sancha doesn't hesitate. She plunges the dagger straight toward herself. Ariadne screams "Wait!" in terror, but it's too late to stop the blade. Blood splatters violently across the floor. The brutality of the strike leaves a heavy scent of iron in the air. The silence is deafening. Sancha collapses, trembling in pain but desperate to protect her mistress. Isabella watches in shock, stunned that a maid would go to such lengths for Ariadne. Just as Ariadne tries to speak, the wounded Sancha grips her wrist tightly. Covered in cold sweat, the maid's eyes beg her silently, "Don't say a word." Ariadne locks eyes with Sancha and understands the plan. But Isabella catches on, slamming her hand down in fury. "I see now. You two conspired to make a fool of me." The chaos summons the cardinal. Seeing the mess, the old man explodes with rage, his roar shaking the hall. "Do you seek to destroy my entire household?" While Isabella is busy whining to her father, Ariadne seizes the chance. She grabs the injured Sancha and rushes downstairs, ignoring the shouting behind them. Safe in the room, Ariadne panics, trying to check the wound. But Sancha pushes her away, calmly insisting this is her own doing and refusing to let her mistress take the blame. Ariadne, heartbroken, asks why she went so far. Sancha offers a weak, gentle smile. "Because, my lady, you are my life's savior." Ariadne's eyes well up with tears. She swears a solemn oath to repay this kindness, promising to stand by her loyal mate until her dying day. Shunned by family and betrayed by lovers in her past life, Ariadne has never known such unconditional loyalty. Looking at Sancha, she can't stop the tears from flowing. Guilt consumes Ariadne, knowing she initially approached Sancha just to use her. She squeezes the maid's hand tight, sobbing an apology. "I'm sorry, I don't deserve your trust." They embrace in tears. As Sancha vows to protect her, Ariadne's gaze turns icy cold. She swears internally, "Moletta, the treacherous servant, will pay for this." Their bond is sealed. Ariadne holds Sancha tight, bathed in warm light, resolving silently, "In this life, no one will ever dare threaten us again." A few days later, despite the calm, something feels off. Ariadne sits by the bed, her fingers restlessly scratching the table, a strange anxiety bubbling up. Her hand spasms suddenly, a throbbing pain pulsing through her fingertips. Ariadne stares at her palm in confusion. This isn't a normal injury. It feels strange. Sancha thinks it's just a bug bite. But Ariadne holds up her hand, asking puzzledly, "Sancha, don't you think my fingers look swollen?" Sancha laughs it off, and they start bantering. Ariadne teases that Sancha looked like a stray kitten when they first met, but now she's got quite a sharp tongue. Jokes aside, Sancha reminds her it's time for lessons. Ariadne brightens up, shaking off the weird sensation in her hand, and heads out the door. "See you later." Walking down the grand hallway, Ariadne's steps are light. Clutching her books, she feels a warmth in her chest. Time spent with Sancha makes the burden of revenge feel lighter. Lucrezia paces the grand hallway, conflicted and deep in thought about what to do with the maid, Sancha. Spying from the shadows, she realizes Ariadne is too unruly to control and starts planning to discard her. A cruel plan forms instantly. If she can't be tamed, marry her off immediately to the ruthless Count Cesare. As for Isabella, the father would never waste her on Cesare. She is far too valuable a pawn. To the cardinal, Isabella is a carefully cultivated investment that must be sold for the highest possible price. Only Prince Alfonso, the kingdom's sole heir, is worthy of this political investment, tipping the scales of greed. Ariadne sees right through it. To win, she simply needs to prove she is of greater value than Isabella. Or better yet, completely destroy Isabella's worth, rendering her useless to their father. Plan set, Ariadne pushes open the heavy doors, a confident smirk playing on her lips. She barges into their lesson, using the state mass as an excuse to boldly interrupt the session. She smiles and asks them to continue, but her flawless foreign accent leaves the trio in shock. To the teacher's amazement, she humbly claims it's just from exposure, playing the modest genius perfectly. While the teacher heaps on praises, Ariadne chuckles internally, the perks of living a second life. Arabella explodes with jealousy, screaming, "Cheater, only to get scolded by the teacher for her bad manners. The teacher even suggests Ariadne is ready for her society debut, twisting Arabella's face with envy. Isabella seethes with rage, clenching her fists white, refusing to listen to her mother's call for patience. Isabella vows to steal the spotlight today, while Ariadne tightens her corset, preparing for battle. Pearl powder and rose water, she meticulously perfects every detail for a flawless appearance. In this theocracy, nobles are seen as chosen ones blessed with virtuous souls by divine right. Today's Mass is a display of power where the Church legitimizes the crown, and she is about to take the stage. The Church holds absolute power here, with the Cardinal preaching from high above to a captivated, silent crowd. It's the monthly state Mass. Heavy doors creak open, blinding lights separating the sacred space from the outside world. The crowd stirs with excitement as Isabella arrives, dressed in purple lace and radiating an aura meant to outshine everyone. The wicked sister walks through the crowd, basking in attention while nobles whisper in envy of her dress and jewels. Clicking her heels, she smirks internally, convinced the spotlight belongs solely to her today. But the crowd notices something off, a stranger trailing behind Isabella, looking drab and out of place. It's Ariadne, makeup free in an old dress, immediately drawing sneers and whispers, "How pathetically plain." Isabella glances back with a sneer, unaware that Ariadne is glaring at her, eyes burning with suppressed rage. Ariadne scoffs internally. Enjoy the fame now, because today is the day that bloody scandal erupts. In her past life, a sacrilegious tragedy struck here, shaking the nation and dooming her to an engagement with Cesare. To save his status, the cardinal made a dirty deal with the king, effectively selling off his own daughter as a pawn. Thus, the king's powerless bastard son, Cesare, was forcibly betrothed to the cardinal's useless daughter. The thought makes her tremble. If she fails to change the past, she's doomed to marry that devil all over again. Clutching her dress in a cold sweat, she forces herself to endure, letting the disaster unfold exactly as before for her revenge. Meanwhile, Cesare watches from the balcony, his gloomy eyes locking onto the flaunting Isabella with predatory focus. The ambitious man smirks with a sinister glint in his eye, looking as if he's already claimed the vain woman below. To the public, Cesare is the city's most eligible bachelor, wealthy, powerful, and dazzling despite his illegitimate birth. After all, backed by the king and his favored mistress Rubina, he's controlled everything from birth. Though kneeling before his parents on the throne, the burning ambition and hunger in his eyes can no longer be hidden. While the Golden Prince laughs with his father in the light, Cesare watches from the shadows. His jaw tightens, and his fist clenches pure, unfiltered hatred for the family he can never truly join. Relegated to the dark corners with his mother, the illegitimate son can't stomach the joy of the legitimate royals. With a scornful tsk, Cesare turns his back on the brilliance, disgust written all over his face. From the balcony, Cesare sneers at the naive princeling below. But his gaze shifts down on the floor. Ariadne senses a presence and looks up, her green eyes sharp and alert. Cesare approaches his mother, Rubina, mentioning the demure girl who's managed to charm the queen. Rubina continues her work, face cold, seemingly unimpressed by this upstart. His mother warns him that there might be more to the girl than meets the eye. Cesare just scoffs, tapping the table, impatiently arrogant enough to believe status and appearance are everything. Rubina bristles, offended by the implication that she rose to power solely on looks. Cesare doesn't back down, crossing his arms with a provocative smirk. "Well? Did you not?" The tension snaps. Cesare's attention shifts to the church below. The show is starting. The infamous apostle of Acerrito stands in the center, locking eyes with the nobles above, ready to speak. Clad in holy vestments, the blond priest clasps his hands in prayer, radiating a fanatical aura. This is the man shaking the foundations of the church, the apostle of Acerrito. He preaches a dangerous gospel, that even the lowliest peasants can learn sacred teachings and become children of God. It's a direct attack on the established social order. Our Lord was born a child of man. The congregation erupts in shock. Nobles whisper in horror, sweating and gasping at what they perceive as blatant blasphemy. The radical preaching pushes them over the edge. A furious noble screams, veins bulging, demanding the filthy heretic be silenced for daring to elevate humans to the level of God. Cardinal de Mere seethes with rage, his nails digging into his palm until they draw blood. A heretic preaching in his mass? It's an unforgivable insult to his authority. He wants to crush the preacher, but fear paralyzes him. The apostle was invited by the Pope himself. Interfering now could be political suicide or worse, brand him a traitor. While the cardinal drowns in indecision, sweating bullets, the apostle slams his hand on the pulpit. The thunderous sound makes the cardinal flinch, watching helplessly as chaos unfolds. Just like you and I, the priest bellows. The cardinal screams internally, "Have you no shame?" but remains frozen in his seat, terror and rage warring within him. Into this paralyzing fear steps Ariadne. Dressed in black, she descends with cold determination, her eyes sharp. She's the only one with the guts to act. She marches straight to the pulpit, cutting through the tension. As the crowd gasps, she confronts the apostle head-on. "Who are you to deny the teachings of the Holy Scriptures?" Her heels click sharply against the stone floor. Unfazed by his defense, Ariadne strikes back with theological precision, challenging him. Does he claim to know more than the saints themselves? The priest tries to play the humble servant card, but Ariadne cuts him off. She recites exact verses from the Gospel of Paul, her knowledge weaponized to dismantle his argument piece by piece. The priest flushes with anger, shouting his heresy. But Ariadne interrupts him forcefully, her gaze piercing. She corners him. "Tell me, apostle, should we trust your word over the original disciples?" The fanatic screams right in Ariadne's face. "Do you dare question the Scriptures?" While the crowd erupts in shocked whispers, tension spiking instantly. High above the chaos, the king sits calmly on his throne and asks, "Who's the problem here? The girl or that preaching lunatic?" The king smirks, clearly amused. "If anyone should be dragged out, it's the apostle." His eyes lock onto the girl below. "Who is she?" Prince Alfonso watches her with a soft gaze. "Her name is Ariadne, father." He blushes, voice full of affection. "She is my friend." Ariadne looks up with unwavering resolve. Alfonso is visibly shaken by her strength. "She is one of the people I admire most in the world." Back in the chapel, the fanatic clenches his fist and screams, "Do you dare question the Holy Scriptures?" Ariadne looks genuinely rattled by his aggression. Up on the balcony, the cardinal is losing it. He grips the railing, seething with rage. What does she think she's doing down there? Cursing her as an impertinent bastard, he spins around in a panic. "I have to control this situation before it's too late." Suddenly, the doors burst open. The Inquisition has arrived. The High Inquisitor demands, "Where is the heretic and criminal?" The Inquisitor's declaration of justice sends a chill through the room. Noble women whisper in terror as the atmosphere turns icy. The cardinal breaks into a cold sweat. "The Inquisition already?" He scrambles to intervene before the situation spirals out of control. The Inquisitor stands center stage, his voice booming as he lists the charges. "Denying the Trinity. You are officially denounced as heretics. Deceiving the people." The Inquisitor delivers the final blow. "I sentence you to excommunication." A death sentence in their society. The cardinal rushes in, begging to explain. The Inquisitor cuts him off coldly. "You allowed a heretic to preach here. You will answer for this blasphemy." The cardinal collapses, head in hands. He realizes the horrifying truth. "I've been betrayed. The Pope himself set this up to destroy me." Faced with the Pope's absolute authority, the cardinal crumbles. He stammers, "It's a mistake. I didn't invite him." But the Inquisitor just stares coldly. Just as the cardinal faces doom, Ariadne steps forward. Her voice cuts through the tension. "Inquisitor, if I may, speak with you for a moment?" The scene shifts. This sequence of events feels hauntingly familiar to a reborn soul. The arrival of the Inquisitors happened in her past life too. But this time, Ariadne looks up with determination. What happens next will be a gamble. The priest screams at her to back off. Ariadne takes a deep breath, fighting her own nerves to speak up against the pressure. She reveals her identity and twists the narrative. Her father wasn't helping the heretic, but setting a stage to publicly refute him. The cardinal panics. This wasn't the plan. He grabs Ariadne's shoulder hard, sweating bullets, desperate to silence her. The blonde priest scoffs, mocking the cardinal for hiding behind a little girl. The cardinal stammers, completely losing his composure. The priest is furious, accusing them of mocking the mass. Ariadne tenses up. This guy is way more hostile than she anticipated. She clutches her dress tightly. She knows the stakes. If she backs down now, her plan fails and her life is over. The priest offers a logical out. The cardinal only tolerated the heretic to respect the pope. A perfect political excuse. Ariadne's eyes gleam. It's working. She seizes the moment, claiming her father had a detailed refutation ready all along. She turns to her father with a deceptively sweet smile, cornering him completely. Isn't that right, father? The cardinal glares at her triumphant smirk. Realizing he's trapped, he sweats and stammers, forced to play along. Forced to agree, the cardinal praises her through gritted teeth. Ariadne smooths it over, claiming even the pope was tricked by the cunning heretic. The priest is skeptical, but the crowd buys it instantly. Whispers spread. This young lady is the hero who saved San Carlo. Public opinion flips completely. Ariadne stands tall, bathed in praise as the knowledgeable, pious daughter who saved the day. Defeated, the presiding priest abruptly ends the mass. Ariadne finally exhales. She won. It wasn't just about pride. By proving her worth, she's destroyed the pretext for her betrothal to Cesare. She's finally free. The scene shifts to the king's audience chamber. Ariadne stands in the light, looking slightly awestruck. The king is thoroughly entertained, chuckling from his throne. To him, that whole chaotic event was just a magnificent play. In high spirits, the king decides to reward her. The advisor chimes in, suggesting jewelry is the way to a young lady's heart. The king casually suggests the heart of the deep blue sea. The advisor's jaw drops in horror. He wants to give away that? It's no ordinary gem. It's a legendary treasure, brought by dolphins and coveted by collectors across the land. Mistress Rubina smirks greedily, clutching the rare sapphire necklace. The courtier below is horrified. Gifting such a national treasure to a mistress is madness, but she clearly has no intention of letting it go. King Leo smirks, fingers fidgeting as he hatches a scheme. He plans to grant the gem to the cardinal's second daughter, knowing it will return to him once she marries into his family. The news strikes terror into the listener, pupils trembling. But the king smiles coldly, announcing the betrothal. In the shadows, the red-haired Cesare appears, surrounded by a menacing, sharp aura. The king finishes his sentence. The bride is promised to his son, Cesare. The figure in the purple cape stands still, marking the start of a calculated political marriage. Meanwhile, Ariadne stands in her father's study. The cardinal is shocked by her theological knowledge, but she calmly replies that she simply read the books in his study to pass the time. The cardinal spins around, disbelief written all over his face. He questions her self-study, thinking her insight is far too advanced for a mere 15-year-old girl. Anticipating his doubt, Ariadne cites specific theological texts. Intrigued, her father tests her on the core theories, turning the interrogation into a high-level academic discussion. Impressed, the cardinal acknowledges her intellect. Treating her with newfound respect, he mentions he is heading to a scripture study at the Great Chapel. Unexpectedly, he invites her along. But Ariadne knows better than to show her full hand. She plays the humble student, politely declining and claiming she needs more time to study at home. Her father dismisses her, and Ariadne bows, relieved. But just as she turns to leave, he calls her name sharply, making her freeze and look back in alarm. Her heart races, fearing suspicion. But the cardinal simply says, "Well done." It's cold praise, confirming he now sees her as a useful asset. The scene shifts from Ariadne's confident smile to a spilled wine glass. Red liquid spreads across the table like blood, signaling tension and unrest in the next scene. Cesare gulps down wine, while Rubina stares him down coldly. As she pours more, she presses him about the cardinal's second daughter, clearly pushing a political agenda. Rubina praises the girl, claiming the whole kingdom is obsessed with her saint-like image. Cesare, looking miserable, drowns out her voice with another glass of wine. Rubina lectures him aggressively, demanding he choose a virtuous wife. Her command to remember hangs in the air like a curse, visibly weighing down on a pained Cesare. Hearing her delusion about him taking the throne, Cesare shatters the wine glass in his grip. He slams it down and snaps at his mother to wake up Prince Alfonso, already his firm control. Cesare pours another drink, looking disheveled and sarcastic. He mocks his furious mother, repeating the lie that his father's love for him knows no bounds. Suddenly, he kicks a box across the room. Cesare explodes in rage, screaming that this love has only condemned him to rot within the palace walls as a powerless noble. Rubina clenches her collar, knuckles white. Seething with resentment, she hisses at the injustice a king's son given nothing but a measly countdown. Facing her son's fury, Rubina turns cold and authoritative. She asserts her dominance, warning him not to raise his voice at the woman who gave him life. The unhinged mother snaps, grabbing Cesare by the collar and screaming that he must seize the throne. Cesare tries to leave in annoyance, but she drops a bombshell. The legendary gem is going to that girl. At the mention of the heart of the deep blue sea, Cesare's eyes go dark. He knows her obsession stems from that cursed prophecy. The fortune teller claimed whoever holds the gem will be king, fueling her ambition to the breaking point. She schemed her way into the king's bed to bear Cesare just to fulfill the prophecy, and she won't let the final step fail. With a suffocatingly gentle touch, she gives her son an absolute order: bring back the gem. Scene shift to the palace, where Ariadne arrives by carriage. The queen has summoned her to reward her courage at the mass. The regressor heroine steps out in a stunning pink gown, radiating elegance and composure with every step. Before leaving, the cardinal warned her to behave. She agreed meekly, but internally scoffed at the old fox personally escorting her. Walking down the corridor, she stares anxiously into a mirror. She only meant to avoid marrying Cesare, but things are spiraling out of control. She scrutinizes her outfit, feeling something is missing. A single fresh flower in her hair would make it perfect. Suddenly, inspiration strikes. The blooming garden tower outside the window is exactly what she needs. She sneaks into the garden looking for peonies, but freezes in shock when a voice suddenly calls her name from behind. She scans the area and spots Prince Alfonso sitting on a bench, smiling warmly and waving her over. Ariadne is surprised and delighted to see him here, while Alfonso enthusiastically invites her closer. Under the bright sun, young Alfonso sits up high, looking down with anticipation as he invites his unexpected visitor. Sitting side by side on the tree branch, fingertips brushing, the innocent prince suddenly blushes and breaks into a nervous sweat. He foolishly worries about dirtying her white dress, making Ariadne giggle, and the atmosphere instantly turns incredibly tender. Under the dappled shade, Alfonso boldly wraps his arm around her waist, his eyes full of affection as he whispers for her to come closer. Ariadne hesitates at the prince's forward invitation, but desperate to escape her hellish family, she clenches her fist and decides to use his affection. Crushed by pressure from Cesare and her family, Ariadne realizes Alfonso is her only way out, her golden ticket. She commits to the plan and leans in close, but her heart betrays her, pounding wildly against her chest. Lost in her racing thoughts, she's snapped back to reality as Alfonso looks down at her, confused. Alfonso gallantly protects her dress and beams with excitement when he learns she's here to see the queen today. Swinging their legs on the branch, Alfonso makes a playful yet solemn vow: he will knight her himself one day. Ariadne plays along with the tease, asking if she should swear her oath of allegiance to him right now. Turning serious, she grasps his hand and swears a sacred oath, undying loyalty, protection, and absolute truth. The solemn vow flusters the innocent prince, and they walk on, the air between them light and sweet. Alfonso admits that with her by his side, he might actually make a decent king, leaving Ariadne staring in silence. Guilt hits her like a truck. In her past life, she led him to his death. Swearing loyalty now feels like a brazen lie. Terrified that the truth would turn his smile into hatred, she becomes dizzy with panic and slips from the branch. In a split second, Alfonso lunges forward and catches her before she hits the ground. Looking up at his frantic face, Ariadne's heart races. Safe but shaken, she stammers out a thank you. As he gently scolds her for being careless, a strange, warm feeling suddenly blooms in her chest. To cover up her panic, she lies, claiming she was searching for a flower to brighten up her plain outfit. Alfonso leans in dangerously close, insisting she looks striking as is, making her blush furiously. Seeing her fidget, Alfonso realizes she's genuinely anxious about her audience with the queen and steps up. Without hesitation, he unfastens the jeweled ribbon from his own jacket and offers it to her. He clumsily ties her hair with his own ribbon. Touched by his innocent gesture, she can't help but chuckle. Watching him blush over his lack of skill, Ariadne feels a wave of warmth, the moment pure and sweet. The ceremony begins. An official reads the decree, bestowing honors upon the cardinal's second daughter. Ariadne kneels, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. The king steps forward, holding a black box himself. The nobles gasp in shock, and Ariadne looks up, utterly confused by this unexpected gesture. Gold and ornaments are just the appetizer. The king reveals the legendary heart of the deep blue sea. Ariadne's eyes widen. This isn't a gift, it's a death sentence. Terrified, she slumps to the floor, begging to refuse the gift. But the king looks down with cold authority, his gaze offering no room for negotiation. The crowd whispers, mocking her hesitation as ungrateful. But Ariadne sweats nervously, knowing that accepting this honor now is tantamount to suicide. Possessing this jewel paints a target on her back for every ambitious schemer. The king claims to understand her fear, but his tone shifts sharply. The cunning king leans in, whispering that her lack of power is exactly the point. He forces the box into her hands. She has no choice but to accept. This is his game. Use Ariadne as bait to force the factions coveting the jewel into a stalemate. A masterclass in manipulation. Since she can't escape, she must secure some protection. Ariadne swallows her fear, looks up, and daringly asks the tyrant for a favor. Seeing her teary-eyed and trembling, the king is intrigued. He grants her permission to voice her concerns. As the king speaks, the memory of the queen's furious scream pierces through. The oppression is suffocating, foreshadowing the storm to come. The queen screams, "You shameless girl!" This intense animosity is exactly what Ariadne intends to exploit. Back in the present, Ariadne gulps nervously. Surprisingly, the king isn't angry. He chuckles, amused. That's not one favor, but two. The king grants her request easily, deeming it trivial. But his sharp gaze suggests he sees the calculation behind her plea. The attendants immediately start flattering the king, praising his kindness, and comparing her to someone from the past. The tone is unsettling. The king seems pleased by the comparison, staring thoughtfully at a relief carving. But the shadows suggest a history that is far from pleasant. The scene shifts to a masked woman in the shadows, lamenting her own fate and wishing Ariadne better luck. The palace is full of tragic ghosts. Back home, Ariadne displays her rewards. Isabella's eyes light up at the sight of the jewels, and she immediately reaches out to touch them. Isabella holds up the amethyst earrings, claiming they match her eyes perfectly. Her mother agrees enthusiastically. The duo is clearly preparing to rob Ariadne. Isabella shamelessly puts on Ariadne's earrings, claiming they only look good on her. Ariadne watches in confusion, wondering what on earth she's talking about. The greedy family makes their move. The stepmother smiles sweetly, claiming the money is too much for a child to handle, and insisting on keeping it safe for her. Ariadne politely refuses, acting helpless. The woman instantly drops the act, clenching her fists and snapping at Ariadne for being greedy. Ariadne springs her trap. She covers her mouth in mock horror, revealing the jewelry is engraved with the queen's initials and strictly forbidden to be given away. She casually mentions that giving them away is a punishable crime. The stepmother and sister freeze in terror, realizing their plan has completely backfired. Before they can recover, Ariadne pulls out a document. The stepmother stares in disbelief. The receipt shows the money has already been donated in the queen's name. It's a total knockout. Ariadne smiles calmly, while her stepmother shakes uncontrollably with rage, screaming about how she could throw away such a fortune. Ariadne plays the innocent, claiming it bought the family honor. Her stepmother doesn't care, pointing a finger and screaming at her for being insolent. The cardinal storms in. The furious father immediately sides against Ariadne, pointing his finger and warning her not to let greed humiliate the family again. Switching from anger to calculation, the cardinal sits everyone down. He stares coldly at Ariadne and demands to see the legendary necklace, the heart of the deep blue sea. Ariadne opens the box, and the room goes silent. The massive blue gem shines brilliantly, leaving everyone in awe of the kingdom's most precious treasure. The greedy father makes his move, insisting he keep the gem in his safe. Ariadne stares back coldly, sweat trickling down, and dares to question him. She's stalling for time. Though she looks calm, she's internally screaming, "Why isn't it here yet?" as she waits for her backup plan to arrive. Just as the tension peaks, a loud knock echoes from the door. Ariadne's internal panic turns to relief. Her timing was perfect. Ariadne's eyes light up with triumph. A victorious smile spreads across her face. She knows she's won this round. A royal official steps in and drops a bombshell. The queen has set a dedicated safe for the jewel, ordering it to be installed directly in Ariadne's room. The cardinal panics, trying to divert the safe to the attic or his son's room. The stepmother screams in protest, and the parents dissolve into chaotic bickering. Ariadne watches the chaos with a smirk. Perfect. Using the royal order, she not only keeps the gem, but also upgrades to a luxurious new bedroom. As she admires her new room, she reveals her genius plan. The donation was actually a deposit into the royal shelter. She can access the funds anytime, but her greedy family can't touch a cent. With the safe installed and the money secured as a deposit, Ariadne clasps her hands. She has turned the royal shelter into her personal bank, outsmarting everyone in the game. Ariadne smirks at the priceless jewels spread out before her, especially the ring from Alfonso. She revels in the victory. Isabella won't get her greedy hands on a single piece. Before the excitement settles, a maid rushes in with an orange box from another palace messenger. Ariadne pauses, a question mark floating above her head. Who else is sending gifts now? A sudden wave of emotion hits her. The calculating look vanishes, replaced by a rare blush as her heart flutters unexpectedly at the sight of the gift. Inside lies a delicate purple hairpin and a folded note. Ariadne holds the paper with trembling hands, her eyes widening in disbelief. Who in the palace would write to her? The note bears a single, elegant. A gentle smile softens her face as she closes her eyes, realizing the prince is far more romantic than she ever anticipated. Back in the bedroom, loyal Sancha is practically rolling on the plush bed in delight. But Ariadne sits at the vanity, cold and detached, refusing to let the luxury soften her guard. When Ariadne mentions she now has two allies, Sancha bristles with jealousy, waving her hands frantically. Absolutely not. I won't let any new maid near you until I approve. Right in the middle of Sancha's rant, the door bursts open with a loud bang. Little Arabella storms in, clutching a lute, looking far more serious than usual. The blonde girl glares, clutching her instrument. Don't think for a moment, I came here to play, she declares, trying her best to look intimidating despite her size. Ariadne rests her chin on her hand, analyzing the girl. She knows the truth. The parents only care about the eldest son and Isabella, leaving this little one completely ignored. Deciding to humor the neglected child, Ariadne smiles and asks about the lute. Internally, however, she feels a mix of pity and calculation might as well entertain her. At the mention of music, Arabella lights up, stars practically floating around her. "I'm a prodigy," she brags. Ariadne raises an eyebrow. This is new information. "I even composed this myself." The girl strums the strings with confidence. The melody that follows wipes the skeptical look right off Ariadne's face. The performance is genuinely stunning. Sancha claps enthusiastically, while Arabella turns away with a blush and a haughty humph, unable to hide her pride. Ariadne doesn't just clap, she plants a seed. With talent like that, you should ask mother and father for a pipe organ. That's what a real composer needs. Arabella's excitement deflates instantly. She mutters that her mother called it too expensive and refused. Ariadne watches her, a calculating smile forming on her lips. "Don't ask for yourself," Ariadne whispers like a devil on her shoulder. "Convince Isabella to ask for it. If it's for her, mother will agree to anything." Watching the girl's desperation, Ariadne's pity evaporates. Why feel sorry for her? Arabella still has the family love that Ariadne begged for in her past life, but never received. Cut to the plan in motion. Arabella approaches Isabella, fidgeting nervously. The golden child sits there, admiring herself in the mirror, barely acknowledging her sister's presence. Arabella stammers, trying to get the words out. Isabella, patting powder onto her flawless face, finally responds with a cold, dismissive, "What is it?" Arabella begs for an organ, but Isabella shuts her down cold. Calling it a sinful extravagance, the older sister dismisses the plea. Arabella shouts back in desperation, insisting it's for her art, but her voice falls on deaf ears. Ariadne watches from the sidelines, scoffing internally at Isabella's hypocrisy. She steps in, loudly praising Arabella's hymn to shift the power dynamic and cut through Isabella's bullying. Seizing the moment, Ariadne invites Arabella to play. Startled by the sudden support, the little girl sweats nervously but prepares to perform, the tension palpable in the air. The talent is undeniable. Even Isabella is left in shock. Validated at last, Arabella puffs out her chest, blushing with pure pride and newfound confidence. Hearing the piece is unfinished, Isabella's attitude flips instantly. She strokes Arabella's head, feigning sisterly warmth, but her calculating eyes betray a hidden agenda. The atmosphere turns suffocating. Isabella leans in for a sisterly chat, her voice dripping with false intimacy. From the shadows, Ariadne watches, sensing the trap closing in. The room clears, and the door locks with a sharp click. Isabella traps her sister, launching into a lecture on family reputation, the air heavy with intimidation. Pure manipulation. Isabella smiles, claiming "My glory is yours," but the warmth is terrifyingly cold. Arabella trembles, sweating in fear, forced to submit to the twisted logic. Outside the church, the sun shines on the arriving guests. Gossip buzzes about the talented sisters, oblivious to the dark manipulation happening behind closed doors. Isabella enters to a chorus of praise. Basking in the stolen spotlight, she plays the role of the beautiful genius perfectly, soaking up every bit of the unearned admiration. Isabella puts on her perfect social mask. Spotting an acquaintance, she feigns delight, but the smile is practiced and hollow, strictly for show. It's a rival with her fiancé. The man blushes furiously at the sight of Isabella, creating an atmosphere thick with awkward tension and lingering attraction. The man heaps praises on her, but the moment he looks away, Isabella's mask slips. Her face twists into a glare of pure jealousy and malice. Pleasantries over, Isabella turns away, radiating arrogant confidence. The show is about to begin, and she intends to claim the stage entirely for herself. Cut to Ariadne in the shadows. Clad in black and surrounded by thorns, her gaze is icy. She vows internally, "I won't let you steal the limelight again." looking down from the heights, ambition burns in her eyes. With a wicked smirk, she prepares to reclaim everything that was taken. The fire of revenge is lit. The girl in the crowd slumps, nearly broken. But a second later, she snaps her head up. Fear is gone, replaced by a steely, unshakable resolve. Watching from the balcony, Ariadne is suddenly hit by a wave of dizziness. Her body gives out, slumping forward as a physical crisis strikes at the worst moment. Consciousness blurs, shifting to a memory. The past version of herself sits alone at the piano, a solitary figure bathed in the warm, nostalgic glow of candlelight. She was so naive then, hugging her music in joy. But the reality of her sister's greed hits hard. She crumbles the sheet music, consumed by bitterness and injustice. Ariadne stands alone at the edge of light and shadow, eyes obscure, as a tide of self-scrutiny washes over her. Flashback. Ariadne stares coldly at her sister. "I see you finally got the pipe organ you've always dreamed of." She presses on, hitting the nail on the head. "And the price was letting Isabella take credit for your hymn, correct?" The innocent sister looks at the keys, sensing something wrong. "I don't understand. Why would she only help if she used her name?" Arabella clenches her fists, still trying to deceive herself. "She can be mean, but she is my full-blooded sister after all." "Sister?" Ariadne sneers. "Then why were you never allowed an instrument until she suddenly wanted one?" She places a hand gently on her sister's, but her words bite like a viper. "The longer you stay silent, the more they think they can trample you." The truth is too cruel. Arabella finally breaks, covering her ears and screaming, "Stop it! Just stop!" Even a rabbit bites when cornered. She points up and roars, "I've had enough! How dare you insult me? Mother and Isabella love me!" Tears stream down her face, but her eyes have changed. "I am a true de mere, unlike you, you fraud!" Flashback over. Ariadne stands in the grand concert hall with a cold smirk. The show is about to begin. Oblivious, Isabella stands proudly center stage, basking in the attention. "Let us begin!" The orchestra starts, and the audience marvels, unaware of the train wreck about to happen. Suddenly, a bizarre, screeching note cuts through. The atmosphere freezes instantly. Everyone is baffled. The conductor is sweating bullets, waving his baton, but unable to save the melody. It sounds atrocious. As the piece ends, the conductor immediately challenges her, score in hand. "My lady, what was the meaning of that strange melody? A sudden key change, impossible to play with one hand," he presses. "This defies all logic." Isabella tries to bluff, so the conductor drops the hammer. "In that case, would you mind demonstrating it yourself?" It's over. Isabella panics instantly. Her empty head doesn't know how to read sheet music. She rushes over like a mad woman, snatching the score and spouting excuses. "You must be missing the string section." Isabella tries to bluff, pen in hand. She claims a segment is missing, but when she actually looks at the notes, her confidence shatters into pure confusion. The crowd isn't buying it. Whispers turn into open mockery, doubting her talent, suspecting theft. The air fills with the sharp sting of humiliation. Panic sets in. Sweating and desperate, Isabella yells, "Wait!" It's a misunderstanding, frantically pivoting to claim it was a collaboration all along. She doubles down on the lie, claiming the main work was hers. But her arrogance falls flat, met only by the brutal, echoing laughter of the room. Just as the humiliation peaks, the atmosphere shifts instantly. A dangerous aura cuts through the mockery. A red-haired figure steps into the fray. Count Cesare. Resplendent in red and black, he wears a lethal smile. Ignoring the chaos completely, he casually asks for Madame Lucrezia. His arrival silences the room. The gossip stops dead. In the shadows, Ariadne watches cold and detached, eyeing the demon from her past. Isabella and her clique turn pale. Seeing the ruthless Count Cesare here isn't a pleasant surprise, it's a terrifying shock. Cesare strides in, unbothered. His boots click on the floor, his elegance terrifyingly calm. He walks like a predator entering a pen of sheep. He takes Isabella's hand, dripping with false charm. More radiant than ever, he lies smoothly, his eyes cold and mocking behind the smile. He calls her the fairest rose, but a whisper from the shadows cuts deep. Envy is ugly. Don't strain yourself trying to be a flower you're not. The words hit the mark. Isabella's vanity is pricked. She snaps her head around, her mask of elegance cracking under the provocation. She loses it completely, screaming, "Jealous? Of someone beneath me?" Cesare watches the outburst with a smirk. The trap has sprung. Interesting, Cesare chuckles coldly. I never mentioned a name. Yet you knew exactly who I meant. He's caught her in her own insecurity. He turns to the crowd, twisting the knife. Gentlemen, behold her stunning intellect. The room erupts in laughter, shaming her completely. Snap! Humiliated, Isabella slaps him. The room freezes. Cesare barely reacts, simply tipping his hat. If that's the show, I'm leaving. Cold as ice. Cesare exits, leaving chaos in his wake. Ariadne watches from the shadows as her sister stands isolated, crushed under the weight of judgment. Once the star, Isabella is now utterly alone. The crowd's admiration has turned to pity and disgust. The suffocation of rejection closes in. She snaps, screaming like a madwoman, "What are you staring at? Get out!" A total meltdown, destroying whatever dignity she had left. Outside, the sun shines bright. Cesare walks away calmly. To him, destroying a noble woman's reputation was just a moment's amusement. Ottavio teases Cesare about his sharp tongue and deliberately brings up Isabella. Cesare turns away coldly, his face full of disdain. Ottavio pushes his luck, asking if this is just a game. Cesare's pupils constrict, his patience snapping instantly. Cesare scoffs, declaring he never bites his tongue for a woman. He ruffles his red hair, radiating pure arrogance. If she wants me, she takes my words too. Mood thoroughly ruined, Cesare spins his horse around and storms off, desperate for a drink to cool his temper. Scene shifts. Isabella sits slumped on a lavish sofa, sobbing uncontrollably in her expensive gown, her usual arrogance gone. She wails to her mother about Cesare's contemptuous stare, terrified of social ruin. Her schemer mother rushes to soothe her precious jewel. The mother's comfort vanishes instantly. She spins around and screams at Arabella in the corner, "Why couldn't you keep your mouth shut?" Arabella trembles, explaining the score was wrong. Her mother doesn't care, screaming that family reputation matters far more than the truth. Accused by her mother, Arabella finally cracks. She whispers into the void, trembling with the forbidden truth, "But that's my song." The truth hits hard. Arabella screams through tears, "I wrote it. You stole it." Her mother recoils, unable to handle the defiance. Desperate, Arabella crawls across the floor, begging her mother to believe her over the lie the world has accepted. The mother stares down with ice-cold eyes, looking at her like trash. She sneers, "You dare talk back to your sister?" She grabs Arabella by the collar, hissing that Isabella is the family jewel. "I won't let you ruin her. Apologize now." Seeing no submission, the mother raises a cane. Arabella cries out the truth, but the weapon swings down mercilessly. The heavy door slams shut, muffling the agonizing screams echoing from inside. "I've done nothing wrong." The beating ends. Arabella, battered and knees raw, drags her injured body across the floor in agony. Servants whisper and stare as she passes. Arabella hangs her head, limping through the corridor of shame. Every step is pure pain. Tears stream down her face as she walks alone, crushed by loneliness and despair. Suddenly, Ariadne appears. She stands tall in the light, reaching out a hand to her broken sister. "Arabella, come here." No judgment, just warmth. Ariadne pulls her battered sister into a tight embrace, and Arabella finally breaks down. The oppressive atmosphere lingers as the cruel stepmother towers over the weeping girl, suffocating the room with her dominance and control. The girl sobs uncontrollably, trapped in a forced embrace. What looks like comfort is actually a chilling display of emotional manipulation. Chapter 19 opens with a golden ticket and invitation to the salon gallery. It's not just a party, it's a game-changing opportunity among the elite. At the dinner table, Ariadne's eyes light up. The moment she sees Prince Alfonso on the list, her mental gears start turning fast. Actress mode engaged. She feigns hesitation, asking the maid about other invites, deliberately setting a trap for her family to walk into. The tension at the table shifts instantly. Ariadne puts down her cutlery and drops a conversational bomb. Speaking of which, the bomb detonates. It's time for Ariadne's debutante ball. Beneath her feigned shock lies the satisfaction of a plan going perfectly. Chaos erupts. The stepmother and sister panic, while the cardinal remains calm. To him, his daughter is just another useful political tool. For those who miss the season, a private ball is the only loophole. A social rule built on privilege and desperate compromise. Consumed by jealousy, the sister slams the table, screaming Ariadne isn't worthy. But the father, prioritizing profit, shuts her down cold. The father calculates coldly. Debuting Ariadne elevates the family status. It's a pure business transaction, devoid of any fatherly love. Unable to stop the ball, the sister pivots. If she's prepping for the ball, she can't go to the salon. She smirks, thinking she's won. Ariadne plays along perfectly, clutching her head. Oh, I feel so faint, I can't possibly go. A masterclass in reverse psychology. The trap snaps shut. The sister mocks her sarcastically. Too bad you'll miss the prince. They gloat, completely unaware they've been played. Clack. Ariadne sets down her fork, her smile twisting. It's no longer submissive. It's the confident smirk of a hunter trapping her prey. Cut to the carriage, she's out. While the maid chatters happily, Ariadne is already mentally strategizing her next move with the prince. Inside the carriage, she fusses over her dress, but her confidence is rock solid. This isn't a party, it's a carefully calculated hunt. She planned it all. By securing Madame Romani as her chaperone beforehand, she completely outmaneuvered her sister's attempts to block her. But she's not just here for romance, she's here for profit. Snapping up future masterpieces cheap by low, sell high is the queen's way. Ariadne acts like a total fangirl, but her eyes betray a calculated scheme. This statue used to be the ultimate flex, displayed right in front of a noble's manor. Though now it's missing limbs and wings, the battle scars only add to its tragic value. But here's the kicker, it's a total fake. Ariadne sits in her carriage, ready to enjoy the drama. The doors open, and Ariadne makes her grand entrance, walking like she owns the place. The gossip mill starts churning immediately. They didn't expect the illegitimate daughter to be this stunning. Surrounded by whispers, she keeps a cool smile, completely unbothered by the judgment. She's more interested in the buffet than socializing, until a specific name makes her freeze in her tracks. Prince Alfonso arrives with his signature glow, instantly becoming the center of attention. Ariadne doesn't hesitate, she spins around 180 degrees and speedwalks in the opposite direction. Hiding in the garden shadows, she panics internally. He absolutely cannot see her like this. But luck is not on her side. Rushing footsteps and a loud shout come from behind. The golden prince rushes over, blushing with excitement as he beams, "Long time no see." Who could possibly resist a face that innocent and happy? Turns out, he was just swarmed by a crowd of admirers, and barely escaped to find her. Walking side by side, Ariadne can't help but tease him a bit about his chaperone and outfit. Alfonso suddenly asks, "Where's the hairpin I sent?" And Ariadne starts sweating bullets. She smoothly lies that it didn't match the dress, thinking to herself, "It's just not my style at all." The garden is stunning. Ariadne excitedly points ahead, acting like a tour guide, urging Alfonso to take a look. She's lost in the scenery, while Alfonso follows behind. His expression is calm, but he obediently matches her pace. They walk side by side down the hydrangea-lined path. The sunlight is perfect, picture perfect, but the silence feels a bit too intimate. Ariadne casually mentions the spot is hidden. Innocent Alfonso hears, "Just the two of us," and instantly blushes, his imagination running wild. Realizing he misunderstood, Ariadne panics. She loudly emphasizes, "We're just friends," desperately trying to kill the romantic mood. Alfonso isn't discouraged. He picks a flower for her. Ariadne worries about the host, but the prince smirks mischievously. "Not if she never finds out." The joke lands, and Ariadne giggles behind her hand. The awkward tension melts away, replaced by a sweet, relaxed vibe. Alfonso suddenly calls her name softly, reaching out his hand. Ariadne pauses, looking down at the boy whose eyes are fixed solely on her. He asks her to pick a flower. Seeing his expectant face, Ariadne's heart skips a beat, and she quickly coughs to hide her embarrassment. She gets an idea. Instead of taking the flower, she pins a purple hydrangea into Alfonso's hair, playfully turning the tables on him. Alfonso beams with pure happiness. Then the scene cuts sharply to formal speeches in the banquet hall. Playtime is over. Back in the banquet hall, a noble from Porto is giving a speech on stage. Ariadne is seated, ready to get down to business. The auction begins with a Virgin Mary painting by an unknown artist. The room is dead silent. Nobody recognizes its value, which means it's a steal. Amidst the silence, Ariadne decisively raises her hand. The auctioneer, recognizing the cardinal's daughter, instantly starts hyping the bid. She knows this artist will become a master for the Holy See later. While everyone else is clueless, she calmly bids a ducato. The nobles whisper, shocked that someone would waste money on this. Ariadne ignores their gazes, sitting composed in the corner. Suddenly, a suffocating figure appears. Cesare is sitting nearby, watching the spectacle with a cold stare. Seeing that familiar, arrogant smirk ignites Ariadne's rage instantly. It's the same look of contempt she remembers from her past life. Refusing to back down under his gaze, she slams her hand up. 10 ducato, she shouts, bidding aggressively to assert dominance. The gavel drops, and the painting is hers. But Ariadne locks eyes with the redhead. This auction victory feels more like a declaration of war. Finally secured. Thanks to Cesare, it cost a fortune, but Ariadne leans back, letting out a heavy sigh of relief. She decides to sit back and watch the show. Ignoring Cesare's intense death stare, she responds with a cool, dismissive smile. The legendary Victoria Nike is unveiled. Ariadne pops a chocolate into her mouth, munching casually while sizing up the prize. The auctioneer hypes up the statue with a high starting bid. Ariadne nibbles her snack, racking her brain who exactly bought this in her past life? Her memory is fuzzy. Just as she drifts off in thought, a sudden bid snaps her back to reality. It's Alfonso. Ariadne's eyes widen in shock seeing the Golden Prince bid. Why on earth is he getting involved? Someone else bids, and she breathes a sigh of relief until Alfonso coolly raises the price again without hesitation. A bidding war erupts. Prices skyrocket instantly, until Alfonso shuts it down with a massive 2,000 ducat bid. This is bad? Cold sweat runs down her face. She's panicking inside. She absolutely cannot let Alfonso win this statue. Just as she mutters in panic, Cesare leans in, catching her off guard. Oh, now that is intriguing. Before she can explain, Cesare shouts to the room, announcing that she thinks the buyer is a fool. He just threw her to the wolves. All eyes turn to her, whispers filling the air. Ariadne stares at Cesare in furious disbelief. He actually set her up in front of everyone.